Hi, hello, good morning. It is the end of June somehow. Time has been flying. But that means it's time for the mid-year book freakout tag. I wouldn't say I'm freaking out, but I am feeling a little like, wow, time is passing. And I have so many books. This is the last question, so I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but I have so many books that I need to read. Anyway, I've read some great books. I've read some books that were not for me, and we're gonna jump right in. So the first question is the best book you've read so far in 2026, and the answer to this is easy, easy, easy. Where is it? The answer is The Poet Empress by Shen Tao. This is an Eastern dark fantasy, and at first glance, it seems like a pretty stereotypical romantasy. It's about this girl who's from a poor family. She signs up to become concubine to this cruel prince, solely so she can send riches back home to her family. And she goes to the palace. She discovers that there's so much more to being at court than she ever could have expected. Um, so it's definitely like it's a romantasy formula for sure. But wow, this book was so much more than that. Um it had some really unexpected moments, and the writing is like flawless. It's one of those books where you read it and you're like, there is nothing extraneous in there. There's nothing where I thought like, why are we doing this? This is so unnecessary. It's one of those books where you read it and you're just immediately sucked in because the characters are so compelling, and it was so good and so unexpected. I just kind of I picked it up because I want to read more Asian representation in books, and this was on Audible, and I had a credit, and yeah, I read it on audio and immediately had to purchase a hard copy because I needed the trophy copy for my shelf, and I want to reread this like immediately. Also, isn't this just gorgeous? It has the shiny sprayed edges. I don't know what you call that. I'm sure there's a name for it, but I don't know what it is. But this is absolutely gorgeous, and it has this. Let me show you the inside. It has this illustration on the inside. It's just it's so stunning, and this is the naked cover without the dust jacket. It's a beautiful, beautiful book, inside and out. And as I said, I'm gonna reread that sooner rather than later. The next question is, what is the worst book you have read so far in 2026? And like, okay, this is a toss up. So the lowest rated book I've got on my list is actually Heated Rivalry by Rachel Reid. But the actual worst might be Ellie is Cool Now by Victoria Fulton and Faith McLaren. Um, I thought Ellie is Cool Now was just such a terrible book, but like in a way that it was so bad it became fun. Like, like it was fun to roast and fun to be like, I can't believe this is happening. Oh my God, what is this? Um, I've got a whole blind date with a book vlog if you want more details on that. But it was just terrible in a way that made it so entertaining. Whereas Heated Rivalry, I really did not enjoy at all. It's just I feel like I'm not the target demographic for this. It's a sports romance, of course. I don't care about sports. It's MLM. I don't care about men. I'm a lesbian, and it's spicy as hell. Oh my goodness, this book was so spicy. I'm like reading the prologue and I'm like, I don't know if I can get through this. I don't know if I can do it. And like the spice is actually part of the story, yes. It's about how their physical relationship and attraction develops into something emotional. However, being a lesbian and also being ace, so I don't like spice anyway, um, it felt kind of gratuitous, the amount of spice there was in it. So yeah, that's from the perspective of someone who doesn't like men, doesn't like spice, doesn't like sports. So I read it because the hype was so great and the TV show came out and the TV show was Canadian and all of this stuff, but like not the book for me, not the book for me at all. So overall, had a worse time with Heated Rivalry. Almost DNF'd it 5 gazillion times. But Ellie is Cool Now is definitely the more poorly written of the two. So I guess they're both the worst for those reasons. And it's a tie. Can I do that? It's my video, so I'm going to say it's a tie. Best sequel you've read in 2026 so far. This is not a direct sequel, but it's the second in like a series of interconnected standalones. And this one is And Now Back to You by B.K. Borison. I love this book. I gave it 4.5 stars. I loved First Time Caller, so I was really, really excited for this book to come out. I read it pretty close to publication date. And this book met all of my expectations. The way B.K. Borison writes to me is like you feel really close to the characters. Like sometimes you read books and you feel like a distance from them. You feel like you don't really get their full interiority. But B.K. Borison writes her characters so well. Like you just feel like you're right there. She also, like, random side note, writes really good side characters and really good families. Anyway, the writing style is very clear. It's very descriptive, but it's very concise. And there are like stream of consciousness moments, typically in high states of high emotion. You get like a little bit of stream of consciousness style, but it's not like the bulk of the writing. But if I had to pick a direct sequel, oh my God, he's trying to claw me. He's trying to claw me. You can't do that. You're going to poke a hole in Mummy's shirt. But if I had to pick a direct sequel, it would be A Pirate's Life for Tea by Rebecca Thorne, which is the second in the Tomes and Tea series. And these are like cozy, low-stakes fantasy books, and none of them disappoint. I read the second one and I read the third one, and I'm obviously going to read the fourth one. Because they're just so good. Worst sequel you've read so far in 2026. I don't think I've actually had any sequels I could call the worst. All the ones I've read were actually pretty good. My lowest rated was The Geographer's Map to Romance by India Holton. Just because for the whole book I wish the two characters would just have a conversation. And I know that isn't unrealistic. Like, all the time people miscommunicate, people don't communicate, people just have like situations where it could be resolved by speaking, and for whatever reason they don't, because like they're afraid to be vulnerable, they're afraid of rejection, they're afraid of conflict, like whatever it is, people get into that kind of situation all the time. So it's not like it's unrealistic, it's just that for a whole book I was kind of like, oh my God, just have a conversation. Like it's infuriating, and like will they, won't they for a whole book based on miscommunication is like not my thing. And I still had a good time. Which is why I rated it 3.5 stars. I mean, okay, you need to go. If you're gonna be bad, you need to go. I rated it 3.5 stars. But I did have to not suspend my disbelief, but I had to put that thought aside, even though it kept popping up. So, like, it was my lowest rated book, but I wouldn't give it, like, the superlative of the worst sequel. New releases you haven't read yet but want to. Carly Fortune's book, Our Perfect Storm. I want to read it so bad, but I want to read the rest of her catalog first. I've read all of them except, Every Summer After, which, yes, I read One Golden Summer before Every Summer After, even though Every Summer After is the number one in the Barry's Bay series. But I didn't realize that One Golden Summer was the second one, and I had it. And I don't have Every Summer After. So I read One Golden Summer, and then when I was looking at it on Goodreads, I was like, oh, this is the second one. I'm not gonna lie, I've done that multiple times where it was like a series of interconnected standalones and I didn't realize it and I read them out of order. Like I did that with the Chestnut Spring series by Elsie Silver. I read the last one first because I didn't realize that they were like there was a specific reading order. And it turned out fine. I still had a good time. So, yes. I'm going to read Every Summer After. I'm going to see if Libby has it first, but let's be real. I want a paperback. And then I'll read Our Perfect Storm. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Okay, so there's this book. Let me get the title right. The Divine Gardener's Handbook, or What to Do If Your Girlfriend Accidentally Turns Off the Sun. And it's by Eli Snow, who is a queer author. And it's coming out in August 18th to be specific. And I've read the ARC reviews for this one, and they're quite mixed, but that only intrigues me more. It's a sapphic dystopian fantasy about this girl who wants to like become a gardener and this like very prestigious gardener, but it's so hard to get spots. So she basically she enters this competition, which is like going to get her a spot if she wins, and she cheats her way into winning into this position. And of course, she discovers that there's so much more than meets the eye to this job. Apparently, there's like rebellion, gods, and rivals to lover, which sounds so chaotic and so full, but also right up my alley. And like the title, when I heard the title, I was immediately sucked in because it's so camp. And these are two things I think we should bring back in books. Camp and satire. That's a whole tangent. The Divine Gardener's Handbook sounds so amazing. And I can't wait to read it. I don't have expectations for it per se, because I did read the negative reviews and I know kind of what people think are the pitfalls of this book. But I do have hopes for it. I'm not like entitled enough to think that it's going to be like everything I want. I do hope it hits certain concepts or tropes or vibes. So yes, that is my most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Moving on, next is the biggest surprise of the year, which is probably the memoir Semi-Well-Adjusted Despite Literally Everything by Alison Stoner. I have lived under a rock for my whole life. So I didn't know anything about her or her work. Sorry, I think they go by they, them pronouns. I don't wish to misgender them, so I'm just going to stick to they, them, just in case. Anyway, I didn't know anything about Alison Stoner or their career, but I picked this up because the title drew me in. Again, with the titles, I'm very attracted to covers. I'm very attracted to titles. So title drew me in, and honestly, it was on a 7-day express loan available now on Libby. And I was looking for a new nonfiction, and I'm kind of getting into memoirs, so I picked it up. I was like halfway through, and I was like, oh, this is actually really good. And then I was looking up reviews, and I saw a lot of comparisons to I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy, and I loved that book. And I agree that there are a lot of similarities. They're both about like child stars and the way that affected them, their dysfunctional family life, etc. But like, even though they're about child stars and fame and growing up in the public eye, it's a very relatable story. They're very human. All these characters in the narrative are very human and very relatable. And Alison Stoner is a great writer. The audiobook was also read by the author, which I love. Alison Stoner is a great writer. She really puts, they really pull all the threads of their life together and distill them into a few core themes. And as I said, they're intensely relatable themes. So yeah, I didn't really expect to like this book as much as I did, but I just thought it was so fantastic. Newest fictional crush. I honestly don't really have one. There are a couple characters I really liked, like Jackson from And Now Back to You and Charlie from One Golden Summer. But I don't have a character I'd say is a fictional crush. So basically, I need to read more lesbian fiction. Book that made you cry. This isn't fair because I tear up at most books. The last one that made me like bawl was weirdly Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. Like that story of that woman's life just got to me so hard. I don't know why, but I think I read that last year. So the most recent one would be One Golden Summer. Like that phone call she gets near the end. If you know, you know. Um, but yeah, One Golden Summer definitely made me like cry, not bawl, but cry. But I've been reading a lot of like cozy fantasy and stuff like that, so there haven't been as many opportunities. A book that made you happy. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I loved Gwen and Dart Are Not in Love by Lex Croucher. Reading this was just total fun and joy. And I've also said this. I'm sure there are flaws that I didn't see because I was just having so much fun. But I blazed through this book and I want to read it again. Like I finished it and I was like, oh, I want to read that again immediately. It was like one of those books. Which same with The Poet Empress, like finished it, could immediately go back, start to finish again. But yes, it was such a joy. I loved it so much. Most beautiful book you've bought so far this year. Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, baby, but I have to get up because I can't reach it. It's on my shelf and I can't reach it. I can't reach it with you in my lap. I bought this on a whim. This was my reward for surviving my first wisdom tooth removal. My dentist wants to get them out one at a time. So I've been back twice and I'm out of insurance coverage, so I'm waiting until September to do the last one because I only have 3 for whatever reason. Anyway, I bought this after my first wisdom tooth removal. I like still was like biting on the gauze and I had the freezing on my mouth. And I went into the bookstore because I was at the pharmacy to pick up a prescription for antibiotics that the dentist had given me. And the bookstore was right next door. So I handed in my prescription. They were like, it'll be like 30 minutes. And I was like, okay, great. So I went to the bookstore. And I got this book because I'm sucked in by covers. This is The Rain Shadow Orphans by Naomi Ishiguro. This is about a found family, which instantly love. I love found family. I go feral for found family. I just, like, that is my, like, if you could pick one trope to read for the rest of your life, it would be found family. Easy. This is about a found family, and they go on an adventure, basically. One of them is an illegal immigrant, which I think is very timely. This on the back says, the first novel in a dazzling anime-inspired fantasy series set within a mythical archipelago brimming with dragons and sun spirits, high-tech hackers, and bubble tea. And that last one is so out of place. I don't know if you can hear that. Someone on the other side of the wall is like scraping something. Anyway, the last one, the bubble tea, that's just so out of place. One of these things is not like the other. And that makes me think, again, there's a little bit of whimsy in this one. But yes, I bought this because of the cover, mainly. The cover sucked me in, and then I read the description, and then I was like, okay, I'm sold. But the cover is gorgeous. It has these sprayed edges, which are just, these are stunning. The outside is just plain blue, but inside there's a map. And now I'm like really bad with geography and really bad with like learning new locations in fantasy and just figuring out what's happening. I can't really picture new things in my head. Like if you say like picture an apple, I can picture an apple because I know what an apple looks like. But if you like describe a character to me, like you say like blonde hair, blue eyes, I know what that looks like. But like if you say short blonde hair and blue eyes and freckles, I'm like, I have to picture short blonde hair, and then I have to picture blue eyes, and then I have to picture freckles, and I have to put them all together. Like it's a lot of work for me to picture anything new. So maps are not really my thing, but it's beautiful. And yes, this absolutely drew me in on the cover. Like the gold detailing, which is, I don't know if you can see that on camera. Yeah, you can kind of see that, but like it's shiny, it's like metallic, and it's textured. Stunning, stunning, stunning book. By far is the most beautiful book I've bought this year. I think it even outshines The Poet Empress. Um, but yes, that is my most beautiful book I've bought so far this year. The last question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? And like, oh boy, what a question, what a list. I think this is this is a challenge that all book lovers will face. Listing listing the books on their TBR, because how do you choose? Anyway, okay, so these are the books I've chosen. I still haven't read Rachel Gillig's The Night and the Moth, and I know the second one comes out in like September or something. Um, so I need to read that so I can read the second one. The Night and the Moth came out a while ago now, obviously, because the second one's coming out soon. But yeah, I have it. I haven't read it, and I need to. I also haven't read Rebecca Ross's latest. I think it's still her latest. I don't think she's published anything since this, but that's Wild Reverence. And I haven't read V.E. Schwab's Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. Although, okay, that one, I honestly, like, I don't know how I'm going to feel about that. It's not, like, high on my list of priorities. I do need to read it, but it's not high on my list of priorities. I'm not a supernatural beings girly. Like, I was never into Twilight. I was never into, I don't know, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I don't care about vampires, don't care about werewolves, don't really care about ghosts, etc. I mean, obviously, the queer element drags me in because sapphic, but nothing else about the description of this book really does. And like, I am very hot and cold with V.E. Schwab to begin with. Like, I adored The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I know people say like nothing happens in that book, and like I agree, but I like those kinds of books. But I was pretty ambivalent to A Darker Shade of Magic and The Near Witch. And I also read Gallant, and I liked it. Like, I wouldn't say it was a favorite, but I loved her YA duology, This Savage Song and Our Dark Duet. I thought that was really, really enjoyable. So yes, this one I need to read, but isn't super high on my list of priorities. It's not as high as maybe it should be. But I don't care about vampires. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Don't come for me. It's just like it's just not my thing. Anyway, if I can add on more books that I want to read before the end of the year, I want to read like Sophie Kinsella's entire bibliography. She passed away last year in December, and I would love to read at least a few of her books before the anniversary of her death. She was actually my favorite author when I was like 16, 17, 18, when I was kind of like just freshly the age where her books would be not inappropriate for me to read. And I honestly feel like her books are the best kind of trash, and I say that with absolute love. Like, they're so well written and funny and engaging and absurd. Like, some of the situations in the books are just like, what is happening? This is ridiculous. But she makes it work. And like, they're so funny and weird, but also full of heart. My favorite is 20s Girl, about, I can't remember what relation it is, but it's like the ghost of her like great grandmother or something that like starts haunting her. And I have a copy I found secondhand. I have a copy on my shelf of books that I've read. I need to reread that one at least. And like, yeah, it's not winning a Pulitzer, but it's so fun. Okay, last few. I need to read Alchemized by Senlin Yu. My friend whose opinion I trust read this and adored it. And there were a few points where she said she literally thought like OC1 would DNF right now. But she like swears that it's worth pushing through. So I have Alchemized on my list. I need to read it so bad so I can like give her like a play-by-play and just report back on what I thought because she loved it so much. And then okay, I want to do a reading vlog where I read Caraval and Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I don't have a concrete like timeline for that though, but I do want to read it like ideally before the end of the year. And I don't know, oh my god, just so many books. So many books on my TBR. Like again, how do I choose? How do I choose? But yes, I think that's a problem for all readers, and I've done my best to collect some of the most like urgent books on my TBR. And that is it. I've been filming for forever, and I hope this video doesn't turn out too long. And I'm sorry for the lack of video last week. I just had like life happened. I went on a trip with my girlfriend. I like just had a bunch of stuff to deal with, and I didn't have time to film. Otherwise, this video would have come out last week, but we did it this week. We're all good, and I will see you in the next one. Tell me what you read. Tell me what the best book and the worst book you read so far was in the comments. Okay, that's it. Bye.